everybody. This is Christy Duke from USET, and I have Vicki French in my office as well.
Hello, everyone.
We have been working for some time on a prescription drug abuse project, as many of you may know. One of the issues that we have faced is the difficulty of accessing state prescription drug registries and the usefulness of such information. We are working on a long-term solution with IHS, but that is going to take some time to implement. We don't know if it's going to be approved. So we've been working on that. So we wanted to make an easier method for providers to access their state prescription drug registry. But in the meantime, we found this tool, which is actually a part of the project we're working on with IHS, that easily integrates a system of analyzing your state's prescription drug registry within the EHR. There are currently 4 states within the Nashville area that have implemented this, and that's Connecticut, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Louisiana. New York, I believe, is scheduled to go live at sometime this year. Is that correct, Clay? Do you know?
That is correct. We're expecting them to go live in December.
Okay. So we've invited all the tribes from that area to participate in this call just to review this product demo. I think what USET wants to do is we want to pilot test it in the tribes that are live to see the usefulness of this tool and to see if it is helpful to the providers at all. I know that Dr. Brown looked at a product demo and he thought it was great and that it would be very, very useful. One of the benefits of this tool will be eventually, although it's not in process right now, will be that you can make multi-state queries. So the tribes that are all close to borders will be able to access other states' information. Do I have that right, Clay?
That is correct.
Okay, and with that said, I'm going to just turn this demo over to Clay, and he's going to present it for us. It's being recorded now, and we will put it on the USET website. So I would really like for you to forward it to your providers so that they can take a look and see what they think. We hope to get this implemented fairly soon. I should have more information at the annual meeting coming up the week after Thanksgiving about timeframes and things like that. So does anybody have any questions right now? Okay, I'll give it to you, Clay.
And hi, I'm Clay Rogers with APRIS. I'm a product manager there. And first, I want to go through a few slides and just kind of talk about how we've been trying to fight prescription drug abuse and some of the products that we have, and then I'll quickly dive into NARxCHECK itself. But let me get the slide going. First I just want to talk about is APRIS has a great partnership with NABP, who is the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy, to help deliver a lot of these products. As you look at this screenshot here, I mean, first we start with the PMP system, and we have our own PMP aware system that's deployed in 5 states. We launched that last, summer of 2013. Back in 2011 is really when our partnership with NABP started to form, and that's when we launched PMP Interconnect, which is a hub that connects these state PMPs and allows them to facilitate data exchanges or really query the different PMPs. So, for example, before there was this interconnect, or before there was this hub, you could really only query your in-state PMP and only see those records within that state. What this does is help break those barriers of of someone who may be getting prescriptions from multiple states. Let's say if your hospital or office is right on a border between 2 or 3 states. So now you can query all of those states because of this hub and because of that data exchange. The next product is PMP Gateway, which we just launched this year, which is really an access point for health IT to be able to integrate with this network of PMPs that we have connected with PMP Interconnect. And what it is, it's really just an API that your EMR system can integrate with to bring the prescription data right into your workflow. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. And then last is how to provide insights and analytics around the data that you're getting, because a lot of times you're having to spend a lot of time analyzing these prescription reports. We just want to provide some clinic decision support tools that can help you analyze them quicker. And so a little bit more about PMP Interconnect. Like I said, it was launched in 2011. And really what it did was facilitate interoperability with interstate data sharing between PMPs. So today there's about 26 state PMPs connected that are exchanging data. We're expecting we should be about 30 here in the next couple of months as far as states that are online. And then we're always continuing to add states just as we progress. The hub does have some smart routing technology. It allows states to configure their business rules for their particular state. So they can decide who they're going to share with, particular roles of users that they'll allow to have access to their PMP. So it has a lot of that built in, so they can just have a click of a button to configure their state laws for their PMP. Right now, we're currently processing at over 700,000 requests a month, and that continues to climb as we get broader adoption and more states come online. And as I'm going through this, if anyone has questions, please just speak up, and if we need to dive anything, just let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. This starts to talk about PMP Gateway, and like I said, this is really an API that provides access to this network of PMPs that's connected to PMP Interconnect. So that way your EMR system, the pharmacy system, the health information exchange can integrate directly with these PMPs and get the data right into your workflow. So it simplifies integration of controlled substance prescription history into your health IT system, and it also provides a single access point. So now you don't have to do point-to-point connectivity to 50 different states. You have one access point right now to get 30, and hopefully in the near future it will be 50 states. And to kind of walk you through technically how this happens with PMP Gateway is this sequence diagram that we have here. The first step is your health IT system creating a request on the back end, and it's an XML request that gets sent to PMP Gateway. And PMP Gateway is just authenticating that system that is trying to connect to us. And at that point, we inspect the request and try to see, and we look to find out which states you want to query. And then we check PMP Interconnect to make sure that you are authorized to query those particular states. At that point, we do a translation to the PMP Interconnect protocol, and then we send the request on to PMP Interconnect. PMP Interconnect then takes that request and then multicast it out to the many different PMPs you want to query. So in this example, it would be these 6 states. At that point, the states then take that request of the patient, they query their own system, and then if they have prescriptions or results, they package that up and they send a response back to PMP Interconnect. PMP Interconnect then collects all those responses and sends it back to PMP Gateway, and then PMP Gateway can send it back to the health IT system that can then present it right in the system that you're using today. Now how this fits in with NARxCHECK is when that data is coming back from PMPI to PMP Gateway can then call the NARxCHECK engine to take that data and produce a NARx report with the score to be presented back to the user. And all this happens, it can happen, I know that sounds like a lot of steps, but it really happens in about 5 or 6 seconds. So we do have pretty good response times coming back. Any questions on this? Because I know I went through it pretty quickly. If not, we'll keep moving on. And this gives you an example of what the NARxCHECK report looks like when it's integrated right into a health IT system. So you can see this is for a particular patient that's been de-identified, and you have, all the way to the left, you have the scores, and the narcotic score, the sedative score, and the stimulant. And then also some additional information down here. And here in a second, I'll pull up actually an actual report, an interactive report, and walk you through it in a little bit more detail. But it shows you how it can be presented right in your health IT system. You don't have to go to another web portal and enter in your username and password to access the state PMP and pull back, and then enter in the patient and pull up the report. Now it's all automatically being done by your system on the back end and just being presented to you right when you need it. So talk about how the score is generated. It takes in a lot of different factors, such as number of providers, number of dispensers, the amount of morphine equivalents, how much of the active drugs are overlapping, and really takes all these different factors and compares it against percentages of the population. And after it does that comparison, then we calculate scores and then average and sum all that information up. So we calculate these factors for multiple time periods and scale of factors based on reference tables we built on actual PMP data. After we've calculated the score, it's then presented in an intuitive interactive display. And so really think of this as it is a decision support tool, but also a data visualization tool as well. And I know this may be a little bit hard to see, but this shows you the full report and all the different sections of the report. At the top, you have the header section, which really identifies the patient that the report is on. The next section is the score, and here we have the 3 different scores. And then also to the right, and I know this is kind of small, and I'll show you here in a second with the interactive report I'll pull up, but it'll take that score and it will show you where that score is in relation to the population based on percentages. And so what you could do at that point is, there's a lot of different things you could say with the score is, if it's really low, you could say, I feel perfectly fine with going ahead and prescribing controlled substances to this patient. Or let's say the patient maybe and then has a low score but has a lot of pain as well. Then you could also look at this score and say, maybe this patient is undertreated and needs more controlled substances. If it's a higher score, then it's a really quick indicator to say, hey, I really need to look into this in some more detail before I'm comfortable with prescribing to this particular patient. And a little thing, and some other things about the score is it is 3 digits. It goes from 0 to 999. The first 2 digits is the score that I was talking about that is calculated, so that goes from 0 to 99. The third digit, which in this example is a 0, tells you the number of active prescriptions. And so that goes up to 9. If there's more than 9 active prescriptions, that digit just stays at 9. And then as you look at the scores, and let's say, hey, you come back with a high score or something's come up and you really want to look at this patient more, that's when you can dive into the prescription graph and the data analysis tables down here. And that can start to help you figure out what's going on with the prescription history for this patient. And so, and I'll pull it up here in a second, but the prescription graph, you'll see lines over a time period for each prescription. And it just helps you to visually see the patterns of this prescription history. And they are color-coded based on the type of prescription they are. So we have the 3 different color codes based on the categories we're showing there. And then there's the data analysis here. And this starts to tell you information such as the number of prescribers, number of dispensers, morphine equivalents, and you'll have that to the left and to the right, just how we've scored each of those based on the time periods. And then finally, let's say you've gotten all through the data analysis piece, and you really want to dive into this even more. Then we have the raw data of the prescription history, and this is stuff that you would see. And this is the stuff you would see in a normal prescription report coming back from a PMP. So it's just the raw data with the particular prescriptions and the dates, but it does have morphine equivalents for each particular prescription. And this is just another example, but I'm going to go ahead and pull up a report. And hopefully now you can see this a little bit better on the screen. And this is again is just another test patient. This happens to be a particularly low score. Again, this is a 190. But so the narcotic score is a 190. Then you have the sedative and the stimulant scores as well. But to the right, now you can see this graph here of the population. And what you can see is this red line here. Basically what it's saying is this score is a 190, and you can see the number here, and this is the scores. But you can see how that relates to the rest of the population, that's 70 percentile. Where if it was a 500, then you start getting the 95 percentile. And then when you get close to 700, you're talking 99 percentile. As you scroll down, this is the line graphs, as you can see, with the prescribers to the left. This goes over the time periods here. And what you can also do is you can just drag your mouse, over the bar graphs, and it'll pull up the actual prescriptions. So if there's some, as you're starting to visualize and see these prescriptions on this graph, you can dive into it and see what those actual prescriptions are. And like I said, it is color-coded, based on the different categories above here. And then let's say you want to dive into a particular category, you can just uncheck this box and it'll remove those from the graph. So it's a really slick way to kind of visualize and see the prescriptions over time periods. And then finally, you really get into the data analysis of what helped us calculate this score with the number of prescribers, pharmacists, morphine equivalents, and prescriptions that were overlapped over the different time periods. And to the left is actually the number, say like the number of prescribers for that time period. And to the right is how we scored that based on that factor. And then we take all those different types of factors to calculate the overall score. And then finally at the bottom, again, this is just the raw data of the prescriptions. This is, it might be just a little bit different from normal PMPs because we do break it up with the prescriptions at the top, so you can really dive into what the drug was. And then what you'll see is just a shortened information on who the prescriber was, but you can reference it down here to where the providers are listed. And if you want to see their address and city, state, and information there. And then also we do provide the morphine equivalents to the right. And at the bottom is finally the pharmacies that are listed that actually dispense the controlled substance. And so that's this is it. And ultimately what you want to do is where you get this report, this NARxCHECK report, and just integrate it right into your health IT system so it's pulled up right in the workflow. There's even things you can do to where we've had some implementations where just the score is presented on the patient at first. You may go into your EMR system and there may be a summary page that has a lot of different indicators, and one indicator you could have is just the NARxCHECK score. And then that way a provider can look at that information and say, and then decide based on that score whether or not they want to pull up this entire report. So again, that's just another time saver that can help with as part of the integration with your EMR system. And then with this report, with the score being there, with the data visualization, and some of the data analysis, it just helps you to analyze these reports better. Because a lot of times you get these reports back and they can be 2 or 3 pages long even. This is an example of just a very small amount of prescriptions. And so with that, that's pretty much the demo. I don't know if there's any questions or anything else, anything anyone would like for me to dive into.
This is Christine, and I just wanted to clarify a couple of things and to put it maybe in our PMS speak. What we're thinking about doing is this will be in the resource tab. So if a provider wants to look up information, all he or she has to do is click over to the resource tab, and then there'll be a link. And what we're going to try to do, and I think that I've had assurances that this will work, is there EHR login will also be the login to get into NARxCHECK, so they won't have to redo it. The patient's information will automatically pull from the EHR into NARxCHECK once they log in. So it's really a seamless way to do it instead of getting out and then looking it up in the state prescription drug registry and then getting back into the EHR or having an admin person look it up. As I said, USET is going to provide this for the next year and pilot test it and just see how it works. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Oh, one more thing. We all are also looking at trying to, for the tribes that are really small and mainly use contract health service providers, being able to set up contract health service providers with this tool as well. So those are all things we're looking at, and as I said, I will have more information at the annual meeting, but we did want to get this information out there. I would like to hear your thoughts just looking at this. Does anybody have any they'd like to share?
Christy?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Paula.
Hey, Paula.
Hi. So is this, okay, let me see if I'm understanding this. This is going to be, we're going to have access to all these states that are on this system? Or is it just going to be bordering states, or is it just going to be our state?
For now, it's just going to be your state.
Okay.
As time goes on, you will have to enter into agreements, but we're looking at bordering states. You know, there's really no reason for you to have access to Hawaii or something like that, right?
Well, in our case, we do, because we actually service tribal members all over the United States.
Okay, so
regardless of whether they live, I mean, we have tribal members in Washington State. We have tribal members like in Rhode Island, you know, so that would be helpful for us.
Are you prescribing for those patients?
Yes, we're not prescribing, but they do go to doctors, and we do kind of monitor them, kind of keep an eye out on them if we get stuff from different pharmacies, and because we don't pay for, we only pay for one pain medicine per doctor per month, like per 30 days. But if they go more than once, like to different doctors, we kind of try to keep up with that.
Okay.
But sometimes we wonder if they go to other places and we don't know about it, and they might be paying it on their own, but we're just trying to make sure that they're staying within what they're supposed to be staying.
To answer your question, I don't think we really know the answer to that right now.
Okay.
I think that because the sharing among states has not been completely developed, I think that that remains to be seen. Do you think that that's accurate, Clay?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've got 26, soon to be 30 states that are sharing data. And it sounds like from what you're going to do with your pilot is just focus on the in-state right now. But I think over time, I mean, it's really going to be very easy for states to decide whether or not they want to share. And so since that connection will already be built, it'll just be a configuration from their side. And then we can also work on logic to say, all right, based on this request, we'll know to go ahead and query these particular states and things of that nature. And then, you know, ultimately, hopefully, is, you know, eventually you have all 50 states onto one network, right? And, you know, we've still got a ways to go to get there, but the progress we keep making is very good.
Okay.
Joan, do you have anything? Okay. Well, okay, I got your no that you typed in. We are going to stop the recording here in just a moment and place it on our website. We do want to get this integrated as soon as possible. I mean, obviously, y'all would have final say over that, but it is something that we are going to make available to the tribes. And we are going to show more at the annual meeting, and I believe that Dr. Brown is probably going to share this with the providers as well. He was very excited about this tool. So if there are no additional questions, we're going to go ahead and stop recording at this point. Clay, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's it. You know, I'm just I'm just happy to get on here, and anytime you guys need me again to walk through anything or have questions, just let me know, and we'll be happy to walk through this again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.